a man that has a flipping assault, like a harassment, has probation, have warrants, were able to slip through the system, get a $2,500 bail, and was able to go back to the same young lady that he harassed and kill her.
What happens when the person you believe will protect you becomes the source of your greatest danger? For 23-year-old Stassi Charles, that question wasn't a philosophical one. It was the terrifying reality of her final days. Her car was found, but she was gone. The scene suggested a struggle, a life interrupted. But this wasn't a mystery. Everyone knew who was responsible. The real question, the one that hangs over this entire case, is how a man with 6 restraining orders from 6 different women, a man known to the FBI and police in multiple states, could walk free on a $2,500 bond just days before he ended Stassi's life. This isn't just a story about a dangerous man. It's a story about a system that had every piece of the puzzle but failed to put the picture together until it was too late. If you're new to the channel, True Crime Unraveled, you're in the right place. We dissect the facts so you can form your own conclusions. Stick with us. Before we trace the 532 days of warnings that led to that parking lot in Baton Rouge, you need to understand who Stassi Charles was. She wasn't just a headline. She was a young woman who loved her family, adored her cats, and had a music taste that jumped from Beyoncé to Future. She was, in so many ways, a typical 23-year-old navigating life. But Stassi was also active on social media, and she left behind a digital footprint that now reads like a tragic prophecy. She posted publicly about her preferences, specifically stating she wanted a white boy and making sweeping, negative statements about black men. She was looking for a certain kind of life, a certain kind of safety. The terrible irony is that the man she chose, Stephen Heinrich Jr., embodied a danger far more concrete and documented than the stereotypes she referenced. He was a white man with a history of violent racism who specifically targeted black women. So, how does someone walk directly into a danger that so many people tried to warn them about? The answer is more complicated than you might think. Stassi Charles met Stephen Heinrich Jr. in early 2025. On the surface, he presented a lifestyle of luxury, lavish trips, designer gifts, a world that might have seemed like the soft life she envisioned. What she didn't see was the monster lurking beneath the surface. Because Stephen Heinrich wasn't an unknown entity. He was a known predator. Let's talk about the red flags that were already waving furiously long before Stassi entered the picture. There were 6 protective orders. 6 different women in different states had gone to court, stood before a judge, and said, "I am afraid of this man." One woman, Somalia Clark, was so terrified she sought orders against not just Stephen, but his parents as well. Then there was the case that began on May 30th, 2024. Stephen briefly dated a woman, and when it ended, he launched a 532-day campaign of terror against her and her best friend, a woman he had never even met. He created hundreds of fake social media profiles. He sent thousands of harassing texts and calls. He contacted their jobs, their families. The threats were graphic. "I'm going to bury her, watch." And to a mother, "I can't wait until your daughter dies. I'm going to piss on her grave." This woman did everything right. She documented everything. She amassed thousands of pieces of evidence. She went to the police in Queens and Yorktown, New York. They declined to file a report. Her own father, an attorney, went to the stations. Still nothing. She escalated to the FBI, who initially took her tip about interstate harassment seriously, but then the calls from them stopped. No explanation. After a year of, as she put it, raising absolute hell, charges were finally filed. 13 counts of harassment and 1 felony. The result? 1 year of probation. No jail time. The system had its chance. Over 500 days of chances, and each time, Stephen Heinrich slipped through. While that woman was fighting for her safety, Stephen Heinrich found Stassi Charles. And by October 2025, the illusion had shattered for Stassi, too. On October 6, she walked into a family court and filed for a protective order. She checked the boxes. He punched her, he shoved her, he threatened her life with a weapon. She described his relentless stalking. She was following the playbook. But here's where the first critical failure occurred. The court couldn't locate Stephen to serve him the papers. And when a hearing was scheduled, Stassi didn't appear. We don't know why, perhaps fear, perhaps manipulation. The result was an administrative dismissal. Stassi Charles was left without the legal protection she had formally requested. Now, remember the woman from the 532-day case? She was still being harassed herself. But when she realized Stephen was targeting another black woman, she did something extraordinary. She reached out to a complete stranger. She sent Stassi a direct message. Let me read a part of it to you. Hey love, we don't know each other, but the man you're seeing right now has been stalking and harassing me almost every single day since last year. He's extremely racist, yet he targets black women. I'm literally only messaging you because I don't want to see this happen to yet another black woman. This wasn't a rumor. This was a first-hand account from a survivor to a potential victim, backed by a mountain of evidence. And Stassi listened. She didn't dismiss it. She communicated with this woman multiple times, confirming her own fears. But the clock was ticking. On November 5th, just 8 days before her murder, Stephen violated his probation by flying to Baton Rouge. He went to Stassi's apartment, held her captive, and beat her for hours. When police arrived, they documented the cuts and bruises. He was arrested. This was the moment. He was in custody for a violent crime, on probation with a known history. At his bail hearing, prosecutors did mention his out-of-state arrests. But those 6 protective orders? That 532-day history? That information didn't make it to the Louisiana courtroom. It was lost in the gap between state lines. Commissioner Keena Kimball set bail at $2,500. He posted it and walked out. The woman who had warned Stassi messaged her immediately, "Please make your family and friends aware. Because I'm nervous. If he gets out, he could do something." Stassi's response was chilling. "I know. I'm kinda scared also, but they said they're going to call me when he gets released. I hope he doesn't get released." Stassi's fear was justified. She then sent a photo, a kitchen knife she found hidden in the plants outside her front door. She wrote, "I 100% believe he would have killed me that night." She knew exactly what he was capable of. Less than 6 days after posting bond, in the early hours of November 13th, 2025, Stephen Heinrich Jr. made his final move. He rammed Stassi's car in her apartment complex parking lot, forced her out, and stabbed her to death. He then fled, caused a head-on collision, and set himself on fire. He died from his injuries the next day. In the aftermath, the woman who tried to save Stassi spoke out publicly, stating, "Stassi's blood is on the hands of every law enforcement, every judge, every DA who let him slide." Another mother, Dominique Ramcaron, whose daughter had also been targeted, said plainly, "The system failed both of these young ladies. He was supposed to be in jail. Y'all are not going to do anything until someone dies." And look what happened. So, we are left with the painful contradictions. Stassi Charles made public statements seeking safety and elevation in one community, but the man she trusted from that community was a documented, violent racist. She did everything society tells a victim to do. She documented, she filed reports, she obtained a protective order, she listened to warnings from other survivors. And yet, the system, with all its scattered information and procedural loopholes, could not save her. The squeaky wheel may get the grease, but in this case, 6 squeaky wheels and a mountain of evidence weren't enough. The question isn't whether Stassi saw the red flags, it's why the people in power chose to be colorblind to them. Stassi Charles was the 9th woman killed by a partner in East Baton Rouge Parish that year alone. She should be here today. Her story is a brutal reminder that danger does not discriminate by race, and that safety cannot be found in stereotypes, but in robust, well-funded systems that talk to each other and take victims at their word. This is a heavy story, and we at True Crime Unraveled thank you for watching it through. We read every single comment you leave on our YouTube channel, True Crime Unraveled, and on Facebook and TikTok at True Crime Unraveled TV. Your engagement is what drives this channel. So let's talk about this. Where was the single biggest point of failure? Was it the information sharing between states? The low bail? The initial dismissal of the protective order? Let us know your take in the comments below. We read them all. If this deep dive into a broken system resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps us bring more unknown stories into the light. Next week, we're examining a case where a single 911 call revealed a secret the small town had kept for generations. The truth was hiding in plain sight. Until next time, stay aware and stay safe.
Before Stephen Heinrich came to Louisiana, he had an extensive file of criminal and civil harassment complaints against him filed in Westchester County, New York, including several protective orders. 2 a.m. Thursday. 23-year-old Stassi Charles is laying in the parking lot of this Old Hammond Highway apartment complex, bleeding out. Baton Rouge police say her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old Stephen Heinrich, had stabbed her multiple times before crashing his car and setting himself on fire.
They could have done their homework.
Dominique Ramkaran says Charles's death should have been prevented.
I told the DA, I said, you're not going to do anything until someone dies. And look what happened.
Ramkaran, who lives in the same New York town as Heinrich, knows him well. He and her daughter went on a couple dates in 2023, and since then, their entire family's life has been a nightmare.
A year and a half, you harassed and stalked my daughter. A year and a half, you have tortured us.
She says when her daughter no longer wanted to see Heinrich, he began constantly harassing her, her daughter's friends, and other members of their family to the tune of hundreds of calls and messages a day, often from fake numbers.
To the point my phone is on Do Not Disturb. If you're not in my favorites, you could not reach me.
Ramkaran says the police didn't do much about it until they got a restraining order against him, which he was arrested for violating. However, he never served jail time.
After he violated the order of protection numerous times, they gave him probation.
At some point, he came down to Louisiana and began dating Charles. Ramkaran says her daughter's friends tried to warn her.
Rose reached out to the young lady, like, leave this man alone. He's crazy. He's going to stalk you. He's done it to my friend. She didn't believe us.
Soon after that, Heinrich was arrested for allegedly beating Charles. Commissioner Keena Kimball gave him a $2,500 bond and a restraining order. This was just 1 week before the stabbing.
So how does a man that has a flipping assault, like a harassment, has probation, have warrants, were able to slip through the system, get a $2,500 bail, and was able to go back to the same young lady that he harassed and kill her?
The WBRZ investigative unit has learned that at this hearing, the state did not have his complete criminal history, but did tell Commissioner Kimball that he had been arrested for violating a protective order in the past year.
The system failed both of these young ladies. It failed every young lady that had to go in the path of this man. He was supposed to be in jail.
According to Baton Rouge police, Heinrich had 6 different protective orders filed against him from women out of state. It's not clear why the DA's office here in Baton Rouge didn't have access to that information, but according to BRPD, they all have access to the same database where they could have found it. For the investigative unit, Bess Casserly, WBRZ News 2.
Michael, Sylvia, it was an emotional evening as hundreds of balloons were released by the family and friends of Stassi Charles, who passed away last week.
Today, we honor her by lifting our hearts just as these balloons lift into the sky.
This is one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I never imagined that I would lose one of my closest friends.
According to police, Charles was found lying in the parking lot of her apartment complex with several stab wounds last Thursday. She died during surgery. Police say the man responsible is her ex-boyfriend, Stephen Heinrich Jr., who crashed his vehicle and set himself on fire. He died the following day. Charles filed a restraining order against Heinrich just last month.
This is just heartbreaking, and we should not be here right now. This should not be happening. I felt like the system and just the judicial system failed her, and they failed her friends and her family, because this could have been prevented.
Macy Duplessis says she and Charles met while attending college together. She describes her as a very happy and bubbly person.
Just a beautiful soul, and just someone that you always wanted to be around. Someone who had a beautiful smile and always made you smile, especially when you needed it the most.
Charles's boss, Deidre Catalano, says she had just purchased her first car.
You would have never thought that she was going through all of this. She always kept her head up high. She did not let it get her down. She continued with pushing forward and her goals, going to school.
Now, her family and friends are left behind.
I hope you protect me and guard me. I'm glad to have you as my angel. I miss you.
We love you.
Some of the people that I had the opportunity to speak with say they will work to keep Stacy's name alive. In Gretna, Haley Jefferson, WBRZ News 2.